Now imagine you're going in to buy a house, the owner is saying, right, give me your best offer, and you turn around and say to him, right, okay, I'm going to offer you £1 million for the house, and then I'm going to spend another £1 million improving it. The owner's going to think, wait up, so he's got 2 million to spend and he's only offering me 1 million. No, I want that 2 million. So the owner's going to sit there and say, no, I want more. Isn't he? That's obvious. Everyone would do that. And that's exactly what the Glazers did with Sheikh Jassim. They knew that he's got that money available to spend on the club, but they didn't want that. They wanted that money in their back pocket. Welcome to the Man United stream. Hope you're doing well. Before we kick off today's show, we have to say a huge thank you to everybody out there that has been subscribing to our channel. It's been absolutely amazing to watch the growth of this channel. We literally started the channel not long ago, and it's been amazing to see how many people have supported the channel, subscribed to the channel, and are committed community members to this channel. Now, if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so we can get over that 5k mark, and as always, please go and hit that like button on this video so it gets pushed out to lots more Man United fans. In today's show, we're going to be discussing what's going on with the takeover of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, what has happened, why is there so much delay, what about all this misinformation out there. There's so much news coming out which is conflicting. One saying Sheikh Jassim is still in the race, he's still going to come in and take over at Manchester United. Some saying that he's out of the race, Ratcliffe is the only one who's taken over. And from other news sources, we're hearing that the Glazers are not going to sell to anybody and they're just going to continue on as they are. So what is the real deal? We'll be discussing that in today's show and more, so make sure you stay tuned. Okay, so let's kick off today's news with information coming out from lots of different sources, lots of different accounts on social media, that Sheikh Jassim is still in the process and he's coming back in with a final bid to take over at Man United. Now, it pains me to say this, but Sheikh Jassim is not in the process of making another final bid. He has in fact left the process, and it'll take a complete mad U-turn for him to come back in again into this process and make a further final bid to the Glazers. From our sources, we're being told that Sheikh Jassim and his team knew months ago that they were not going to succeed in this bid to take over at Man United, and they had already prepared themselves to leave the process. It was just a matter of time where they were going to drop out formally, but they were just waiting and seeing what will happen with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But they knew months ago that the Glazers were not prepared to accept their offer. And we in our show have confirmed this many times over the last few months, that the Glazers are not wanting to sell and leave the club. That is what we've been reiterating and saying again and again to our viewers, that the Glazers do not want to sell. Avram and Joel Glazer did not want to sell right from the word go, right from the outset of this takeover process. When they announced that they were exploring strategic opportunities, the Glazers never wanted to leave Man United. They were here to stay. They were just looking for further investment, and that's why they opened this process up and wanted someone else to come in and just simply offer them the money and walk away in such that they will not want any control of Man United, and the Glazers will be left in charge to spend that money however they wish. Now, nobody has come in and done that, and it was only Qatar and Sir Jim who came in actually offering some kind of money to take over the club. Now, what we're hearing from our sources, that Sheikh Jassim's bid was never ever going to be accepted. It was for 100% of the club, and the Glazers were never ever going to sell 100% of the club. They were never going to have a full sale, despite all the pressure from the fans asking for that 100% full sale. And even now, most fans want that 100% full sale, but the Glazers have never given a crap about what the fans think and what the media and the general public think about the ownership of Man United. And this week, we're hearing from sources close to Sheikh Jassim that Sheikh Jassim did not want to work alongside the Glazers, did not want them to stay at the club, and that is why he left the process and did not offer anything more where the Glazers could stay on at the club. He did not want to offer them any lifeline, did not want to put any money down on Man United and not have full control of the club. And this is exactly why Sir Jim Ratcliffe went into pole position to take over at Manchester United, or take some ownership of Manchester United, because he was prepared to work with the Glazers and he was prepared to give him time and stay at the club. Now, if we go back to the start of this process, Sir Jim Ratcliffe had the intention of coming in and buying the entirety of United. He did not want the Glazers to stay. However, whilst he was going through this process, he quickly realised that the Glazers were not willing to sell the club and did not want to leave, and that's when he started reconstructing his bids and started making them more in line with what the Glazers might go for, and that's where we've ended up right now. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has actually got in there by giving them an offer that they can't refuse, a 25% stake in United, and they get all the money but still stay in control of what's going on at the club. Now, since Sheikh Jassim dropped out of this process over the weekend, we have had sources close to Ineos confirm that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will have control over the footballing decisions at the club if he takes over 25% of United. So the Glazers will be remaining in charge. They'll be dealing with everything else apart from the footballing decisions. That is how it's going to start off like, but then we need to know further details about what's going to happen further on down the line. Will the Glazers sell the rest of their shares to Ratcliffe? Is there a timeline for this? That is very, very important for lots of fans out there. Until we do not get that information, you cannot make a decision on whether this is a good deal for the club or not. But as things stand right now, no fan is happy with Ratcliffe working with the Glazers and coming in and just taking over 25% minority stake within the club. We feel like we've got the worst of both worlds. We've got Ratcliffe who's come in, not really committed, not taking over the full club, and we've got the Glazers still sat here controlling what is most important at the club. Now, in the last 24 hours, we started getting crazy amounts of news coming out from social media accounts, from other sources, saying that this deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe could be falling through. The board meeting that was planned for Thursday is not going ahead and will not be approving Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer. But this is just fake news. It's just misinformation. It's just a formality. What we're hearing from within the club, that this is not a priority. There's a few things that they're sorting out behind the scenes with the paperwork concerning the Ratcliffe deal, and it will just be a formality. It'll just be a rubber stamp because Joel and Avram Glazer have got key votes on the board, and even if the board do not approve Ratcliffe's bid, it can still be pushed through by Joel Glazer. That's how much power they have on the board, and it's just a formality. It's just a rubber stamp of that deal. If the Avram and Joel want it to happen, it will happen. And this is exactly why most Man United fans have got a reason to be concerned, because Joel and Avram have lots of power on that board and they can make things happen, even with Sir Jim sat there owning 25% of the club. And this is why most fans are genuinely concerned. They want to know whether Sir Jim Ratcliffe will have enough voting rights on that board to veto anything that Joel and Avram Glazer want or say, because if he doesn't, if he hasn't got that power to overrule the Glazers, then we're back to square one again. There's no point owning 25% of the club if the Glazers are still making all the decisions and have the power to not sell the club to Ratcliffe later on down the line. In the last few days, we have started getting more information from the Ineos group about the takeover, and they have started leaking information about what they plan to do with Man United going forward, who they're going to bring in. We mentioned Jean-Claude Blanc, who is a key figure at Ineos, who will be brought in immediately at Man United to turn around their fortunes. We are hearing that Blanc could be the next new CEO at Man United, but this all depends on the Glazers and Ratcliffe and what they've agreed behind closed doors. What is that deal about? How much power does each party have in making appointments and sacking people? That is going to be the crux of where the club is going to go. If Ratcliffe has been clever enough to go in there and get these voting rights, get the power to dismiss and appoint anybody he wishes, then we've got some serious changes coming ahead of us. But if he hasn't and the Glazers have to approve everything, well, in that case, we might have a power struggle there. But what we have heard from sources within Ineos is that Ratcliffe's overall objective and end goal is to take over 100% of the club. The same sources at Ineos have also suggested that the first changes that will be made by Ineos, by Ratcliffe, will be on the footballing side, nothing to do with commercial things. It will just be about getting that team to improve and start playing well, start to win again, and that's when everything else will be put into place as well. Old Trafford, everything around it will start getting rebuilt once the team starts playing better and performing better, because they link the performances on the pitch to everything else and success off the pitch, which is key. It's true. If the team isn't doing well, there's no point making a good stadium, making facilities around the team, but the team itself is not winning anything. We do need to start with the team making sure that they are winning on the pitch, they're doing well, they're winning trophies, they're getting into finals, and it's from that success that you'll have that ripple effect and everything else will change as a result of that. But there are still so many questions still that need to be answered with all this takeover. What is going on? It's the complete and utter circus. There's so many things going on at one time, so much information coming out from so many different sources, and you really do not know what to believe. Half the people saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to take over, half the people saying that Sheikh Jassim is still in the process and he's going to come any day and make a crazy offer and take over, and you genuinely start reading this stuff and you think, right, this sounds so confident that this could be it. This is genuine news, but it's not genuine news. People are doing it for clickbait. People are doing it just to get clout. They just want people to just be confused, and it's just not true. And these accounts have been doing this for months and months, spewing the same rubbish about how Sheikh Jassim has taken over the club, how he signed everything, how he's bringing Mbappe in the next month, and how this is happening and what he's going to do to the club. It's not true. It's not true. We've just been had for a long time. There's these accounts, there's these people out there who just talk an absolute rubbish. They have got no sources. They do not know what's going on. These very people do not even know what the takeover process actually involves, the legalities, the processes, how it actually works, who does what. They don't know anything. All they do is sit there saying the same thing again and again, even though right now we've had parties come out and confirm that they've withdrawn from the process. These people are still spewing the same rubbish, which is Sheikh Jassim is still set to take over at Man United. Somehow he's going to rise from the ashes, come back, make that final offer and take over. But Sheikh Jassim left the process months ago. Sheikh Jassim knew months ago that the Glazers will not be selling United to him, and he's been sat there waiting to see what happens with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and then see if he can then come in and make one other final offer. But that did not happen. He got told that the Glazers are not interested in selling 100% of the club, and he will not be successful if he keeps coming back to the table with 100% takeover of the club. Sheikh Jassim, give him credit, he did not want to work with the Glazers and said, right, I just want 100% of the club, and if you're not going to give me that, I'm going to walk away. And that's exactly what he did. Another really interesting point of discussion was that we heard from sources close to the Glazers that the Glazers were not happy that Sheikh Jassim was proposing to put down another £1.5 billion in investment to the club, making sure the infrastructure is right and everything else. They were not happy with that plan. They did not want Jassim to be putting that money into the club. They wanted the money to go into their back pockets. The Glazers are the Glazers. They're very greedy. We've all known this for a long time, and that's exactly what happened with Sheikh Jassim's deal. They wanted all that money to be offered to them. Sheikh Jassim stuck to his guns and said that he is not prepared to offer that money to them. He wants to invest that in the club and wants to improve the facilities at Man United, clear the debt, bring in new players, and that is why the structure of his bid involved putting money down to the club and showed what he's actually willing to invest in the club. But that made little difference to the Glazers. They didn't care what he was investing in the club, as if they were going to sell to him, they wanted everything on the table there and then, and for themselves, nothing for the club really made a difference. They didn't care what he was going to invest in the club. They don't care. Once they sold the club, who cares what Sheikh Jassim's going to do with the club? And I think that's where Sheikh Jassim went wrong in his bid for Man United. Why did he tell the Glazers and let everyone know what he was planning to spend on Man United? Why did he show them that he's got this money available to spend on United and he's not giving it to them? Now imagine you're going in to buy a house, the owner is saying, right, give me your best offer, and you turn around and say to him, right, okay, I'm going to offer you £1 million for the house, and then I'm going to spend another £1 million improving it. the owner's going to think, wait up, so he's got 2 million to spend and he's only offering me 1 million. No, I want that 2 million. So the owner's going to sit there and say, no, I want more, isn't he? That's obvious. Everyone would do that. And that's exactly what the Glazers did with Sheikh Jassim. They knew that he's got that money available to spend on the club, but they didn't want that. They wanted that money in their back pocket, and this is exactly why Sheikh Jassim was not successful in his bid, because the Glazers knew that he had more money to spend and he should be giving it to them, and he refused to do that and restructure his bid in that way. And well, we all know the rest. He was unsuccessful. We need to forget that. We now need to concentrate on what's going on with Ratcliffe and his bid, and if that involves buying out the Glazers anytime soon. That is the crux of the matter. So we will keep you updated as soon as we hear any news on this deal and the actual structure of it and the details, because that is going to be very, very important going forward in the future of Man United. Make sure you hit the like button on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You're watching the Man United stream, a channel by the fans for the fans.